record. There we go, and share my screen. All right. So thank you guys for coming today. I've been working on this for a while, and yeah, you're going to get to know why in a minute. So considering this is a smaller group, that means we're going to have some time at the end of the day for any questions that you want to throw my way, and we may even finish early, which would be nice as well. So I'm Brenda Colassa, for those who don't know me. I've been in business for over 25 years. I'm a graphic designer by trade, and I moved into coaching a couple of years ago when I found that I love mentoring and helping people to achieve more within their businesses. And I've done that throughout my career. I've had other businesses on the go as well, including an online consortium and offline yearly event called Success for Business Expo. I ran that for 5 years, and that was the push that I needed to get into coaching. So having to deal with a lot of different priorities in my businesses throughout the years, I figured out how to be pretty productive when I want to be. It takes a lot of focus, it takes a lot of tenacity and clarity in order to get everything done that I need to, so I need to be organized. But this year has been a little different, wouldn't you say? Like, so incredibly blindsiding. I know for me, I've had at least 6 or 7 speaking engagements canceled. I've missed out on a lot of networking opportunities. And I've really been missing out on my different business groups that I'm in, you know, meeting face to face. Clients have cut their budgets. They've pivoted onto something else at times, and a lot of them have closed their doors. So I don't know about you, but all of these events come together to start to create a bit of chaos to navigate. And sometimes I've got to admit, I've been feeling like a hamster on the wheel, going around and around. I mean, just trying to keep up to all the changes. And the more I try to keep up, the more like I felt like I was failing and not going anywhere. If you're going through any of this, just give an amen or something, a thumbs up in the chat, because I tell you, I hope I'm not the only one. Let's put it that way. So as an entrepreneur, feeling stuck is a horrible thing, right? It's a horrible feeling because we're the doers, we're the action takers. And when we don't see the results of our hard work, it can be really discouraging, you know, which can get in the way of a clear path out of that. A lot of times these issues and reasons are more on a subconscious level, okay? Our conscious mind, which accounts for about 10% of our decision making, says, yes, I need to do this and this and this. It's easy, just get after it, get it done. But the other 90% is our subconscious mind. That's the tricky area, right? That likes to hide in the peripheral. It comes up with all these excuses and reasons not to do something because honestly, it really tries to protect us. It thinks it's protecting us from ourselves, from others, from stepping outside of our comfort zones. And believe me when I say, that starts to take root within the decisions you make without even knowing about it. One reason we don't recognize that they're lurking in there is because we're so busy, right? As entrepreneurs and business leaders, we have a lot of balls in the air. The problem is we get so busy trying to keep those balls in the air that we fail to see why we aren't moving forward in the areas we need to be moving forward in, and become like the hamster on the wheel, round and round. Anybody with me? So what I found is that I often have to evaluate where I'm at and what it takes to get myself to that next level. And I do this when I start to feel a little bit stuck or unfocused, because let me tell you, nothing is as painful as staying stuck where you don't belong. Nothing. So let me ask you, do you ever wonder why you can't seem to focus and get anything done of any value? Do you ever wonder why there's never enough hours in the day? Do you ever wish you weren't having to work so hard for what you get? And do you ever wonder what it would be like to actually become excited about your business and your work again? If you said yes to any of those, chances are you're not getting the results you want, and you're probably in a bit of a rut. This is exactly where I was not too long ago. I was in a rut. So I started to write down all the reasons that I could identify with that could be holding me back. And it wasn't until I started to really ponder those reasons, to really look at them, that it started to make sense as to why I was getting distracted, why I was losing momentum, losing purpose, right? And some of them hit me over the head like a hammer. So first, before we get into it, I want you to think of something. Close your eyes if you have to. Think of something that you haven't been able to see any traction from. Something that you've worked hard for, but are disappointed by the results. Okay, it's important to be really honest with yourself while you're answering that, because if you don't start to recognize what it is that you want to see results from, then you're not going to be able to fix anything. So is it that you'd like to be seeing better results from your sales, from your marketing, from your productivity, your staff, your revenue, your relationships? What is it that's not working as well for you as you think it should be right now? So I'm going to go over those top 10 reasons that I have with you today. And even if you could identify with one of them that could change your thought patterns, would it be worth your time? I hope so. And if you stick around to the end, there's going to be some added bonuses thrown in all over the place, starting with my action brainstorming sheet, which is a great way to identify what you should, could, and want to be doing to move forward. So let's dive in and see which one might be your culprit. Number one, are you invested enough? With so much going on, not everything on our list is going to get our undivided attention. It's just not. And sometimes we aren't invested enough in a project or a goal because we don't consider it to be a priority, compared to everything else happening around us. It may be too complicated for where we are right now, and it sits outside of our comfort zone. So it just becomes easy to put off and procrastinate. Or it could be that we're just not interested in it and it bores us, or we feel that it's beneath us. The pain of not committing doesn't outweigh the excuses. So we keep going, putting it off, wondering why we can't generate any results. So if you want to know if you should be more invested in something or not, ask yourself these questions. How important is this on a scale of 1 to 10? Am I invested enough to make this a reality? Who does it affect if I don't make this happen? How will it make me feel if I'm successful with this? And how will that impact myself and my business? Because once you can fully answer all of those questions, only then you're going to see if this is truly important. Because it may not be as important as you once thought it was. And this really works well if you can get to an emotional response with these questions. And you can do that by asking why after every single answer. So answer number one, how important is this on a scale of 1 to 10? Oh, it's a 7. Why? And keep asking why until you get to that emotion. Because only then you can really understand what it'll mean to you and others if this does or doesn't fly. Right? If you're a parent, you're going to relate to this. You make your kid a promise that you'll spend Friday night with them and go to a movie. Friday happens and the world turns upside down. You're putting out fires, you're waiting on deliveries, you're dealing with no-show customers, and you're behind on all your work. So you're so behind that you could use like 6 more hours in the day. Going to a movie may not be that important to you, but it certainly is to your child. And there's no way that you're going to disappoint that child and go back on your promise. It's going to make you look like a bad parent. It might make your kid cry, and you don't want him to lose trust in you. So you're invested in making this happen because of that. That's your emotional why. That's your driver. Does that make sense to everybody? Just put yes or no in the chat if I'm being clear or not. Yep, yes. Okay. So is this important enough for you to be invested in, or should you drop it or give it to somebody else and move on with your other priorities? Because if you don't have that driver behind why you need your business to succeed, nothing's going to work. Okay. Number 2, what's your plan? Have you ever caught yourself staring off into space, wondering what it is you're supposed to be doing next? I've done this, and especially when I find that I'm unfocused, I'm unmotivated, I'm unable to see anything in front of me, never mind the big picture. So you slap yourself awake again and start to do what's comfortable, and whatever doesn't take a lot of effort because you're just not into it. That's the low-hanging fruit, right? And this is okay on a Friday afternoon when you're thinking of all the fun you're going to have on the weekend. But what if you continually start to fall into that comfort zone, into that zoned out space? Because when we're in our comfort zones, we don't allow ourselves to thrive outside of those walls. We don't challenge ourselves and stretch ourselves. And we end up wondering every time why we're not further ahead, which is bizarre to me. I think a lot of us have experienced that with the pandemic, especially lately, as we sit and will it away. But let's face it, some of these issues aren't going away anytime soon. And we still need a clear plan. A clear plan ensures that you know what you need to do in order to achieve that next stage and those milestones. You know how to get the job done without any surprises. You know who to reach out for in case you need help or if you're stuck. And you have a start and an end date that you can actually commit to. And for me, sometimes it just means it's jumping into action without overthinking it. Because how often have you overthought something? Right? I always say that I work best in the ready, fire, aim method of getting things done. You jump into the deep end and then you look for a life jacket along the way. Sometimes I find that it's just better this way because I don't have time to talk myself out of it. And usually it ends up being really good for me when I can stretch myself in that way. So ask yourself where you see yourself a year from now. If it looks different than where you are currently, you need a plan if you don't have one, right? Pinpoint the areas that are giving you, hello, hang on. Whoa, okay, there we go. So yeah, pinpoint the areas that are the weakest for you, right? The areas that you're not happy with, and start making a document with notes. I use a mind map when I start to do this. If you don't know what a mind map is, reach out to me afterwards and I'll share that with you. And then after you've got your mind map, you can start to lay out a plan that you can stick with. Number 3, are you living in chaos or comfort? No, that was wrong. Are you living in chaos, comfort? I guess sometimes it's the same thing, because when we live with too many balls in the air, navigating home life, family, events, meetings, deadlines, anything else we have to deal with, life gets a little bit chaotic, right? And often we get so used to living this way, we don't even realize it. And it starts to feel comfortable. I know, like, who would have ever thought that chaos could be considered comfortable? But it's the main reason that we stay with what we know, rather than stretch ourselves to grow. Because being in chaos can be better than the devil you know, rather than deal with the devil you don't know. Okay, I've felt this before. We get used to being stressed. We get used to being overwhelmed and busy. The thing is, that's when you know things need to change. When you're no longer in control over your time, your stress level, your health, your to-do list, and you start to become reactive instead of proactive. And the thing is, the amount of energy that you put into any reactive situation, especially when you're in chaos, is way more than enough energy to tackle even the toughest of hurdles. So if this is you and you find yourself in chaos right now, ask yourself what your priorities are. Just write them down. Write down your priorities. Just knowing what's important, whether it's your daily to-do list, weekly, monthly, quarterly goals, this is going to help to bring you out of chaos, writing them down. You're not only going to feel more in control, but you're going to become more focused. And as a result, you're not going to sabotage yourself as often. Everybody good? Continue. I hope you haven't fallen asleep on me. I'm waiting. Yes, carry on. Yes, all good. Yes, yes, yes. I got a clap from Diane. All good, all good. Okay, good. Just want to make sure you're not asleep. So the next one, what are you telling yourself? When we've experienced negative personal situations, we often wind up not believing in ourselves down the road. We also end up attracting the kind of people that also don't believe in themselves. So the best thing you can do for your business is to see yourself as the smart, confident, and capable leader that you really are, because that's who you're going to end up surrounding yourself with. Like-minded people who are going to boost you up when you need it most. If you've ever heard the trash talk inside your head lately, you know how contained it feels. Negative self-talk will keep you from exploring real opportunities with anything of value, because you're going to be second-guessing yourself constantly. Your mind is extremely powerful and persistent, and until you start to recognize the power it has over you, it keeps growing and growing and getting louder and louder. I don't know about you, but I can't focus on things when the voice in my head is shouting at me. Not only that, but when you start to feed into those thoughts that you're too ugly, you're too overweight, you're too young, too old, too whatever it is, you end up lacking confidence in your abilities, lacking leadership skills, lacking decision-making skills, creativity, and you lack trust in yourself and others. And no one starts their business thinking these are going to be the pitfalls. But honestly, almost everybody I know struggles with something like this. It's what our inner critic has programmed in us as a result of past experiences, right? And lives in your subconscious awareness. But when you can catch those thoughts of negativity and be able to stop, or at least hush them down to a whisper again, you can literally do anything, right? When I give my programs or coach my clients one-on-one, we have a process for this. And it starts with the ability to give yourself credit. It's called a credit report. Start to see all the things that you've accomplished, the relationships you've built, the people you've touched. That's what's important, not what you haven't done yet, not what you weigh, not what your age is. That's all crap. Start to find the truth in who you are, because I guarantee that you've done some pretty amazing things, you know, in your journey to get you to where you are today. And you just need to remember that each and every time you hear that voice. Number 5, squirrel. How many of you have answered a ding, a flash, or a ping on Facebook, and an hour later, you wondered how you got in there in the first place? Anybody? I know I'm guilty of it. We typically get distracted because of reasons we're not even aware of on a conscious level. Distractions become poor time management habits, and they affect even the most seasoned entrepreneurs and leaders. In essence, what they do is they become the thieves of productivity, and they rob us from thriving in our business. We may start to, text a friend in the middle of the day because maybe we're putting off that huge project that seems so overwhelming. We may choose to clean the office instead of, doing paperwork because it's not something that gets us excited. We may choose to make a meeting last extra long so that we don't have to fully deal with that other issue that we've been putting off and not wanting to deal with. Do you see how these distractions become perfect excuses? Sooner or later, they become an addiction. And if you're not sure how much you're addicted to your distractions, start by actually writing them down. Again, writing them down on a piece of paper. Okay? Write down everything that you do on a day-to-day basis for 1 week. At the end of 1 week, look back and see how much you went down that rabbit hole versus moving the needle with priorities instead. What's more important to bring in revenue and results? Cleaning the bathroom or a commitment to making 1 sales call instead? Taking a few extra minutes on social media or getting back to that client you've been meaning to reply to? What's more important, right? Sometimes when we get disconnected from our priorities, that's when we fall into distractions. I know I have a sticky note on my computer and it says, what are you working on and how important is it? So because I look at that every day, it reminds me to keep distractions at bay and stay focused. Okay, and for those who are around at the end, if you just stick with me here, I'm going to send out an interruption buster. It's a handout that's going to help you with this, and it's going to help you to write down all of those distractions so that you can see how much you really are wasting or not. All right, number 6. Ever feel like no matter how many hours in a day you put in, it's never enough to get all the things done? Anybody feel that way? You put in all the time, you're super busy. Hi, Lori. You put in all the time, you're super busy, and at the end of the day, after all the hard work, you wonder what it was you had accomplished anyway. So Lori, I'm just recording this, and if you could take your camera off, then it's going to record a bit cleaner. If you can find a way. If not, that's okay too. So yeah, you put in all this time, you're super busy, and at the end of the day, after all the hard work, you wonder what the heck you've accomplished. For example, I've caught myself busy filing, cleaning, waiting for delivery people, making deliveries, organizing emails, things that are important, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, I come out of my office completely spent because through all of it, I didn't do one thing that helped to move the needle on my business. I didn't do one thing that generated results. And that's exhausting when you realize this after what feels like an endless day. This reminds me of something called Parkinson's Law. Have you guys heard of this law? Just put yes or no in the comments if you have or haven't. And if everybody's heard of it, then I'll just carry on. Yes, no, maybe, no, okay. So Parkinson's Law, this is where the work that you're doing naturally expands to fill the time available or allotted, whether that work is productive or not. In other words, the amount of work required adjusts to the time available to be completed. So when I was writing these reasons, I realized that I'm dealing with a bit of Parkinson's Law right now. I have this program that I want to get in line before September, and I've had 5 months to do it so far. I've started it about 4 times. I've purchased the software, and for some reason or another, I always put it down in favor of something else because the time frame I've allotted is to get it done for November. Seriously? I mean, the work is naturally expanding to fill the space allocated, right? That course will be done in November and not 1 week beforehand because that's the way I've allocated the time frame. But you know what? Even the smallest things also can take hours depending on how much time you give yourself, right? If you say I'm going to clean the garage out Saturday afternoon, you give yourself 4 or 5 hours when really, like from what you had envisioned doing should only take 1 hour, guess what? You're going to take 4 or 5 hours because that's the time frame that you've given yourself. That's Parkinson's law at work. Anybody know what I'm talking about now? Yeah. So if you take one of my programs, you're going to learn about the 5-minute brain dump exercise, which saves so much time throughout the day. That's how I start my mornings when I'm in chaos, is with a 5-minute brain dump. Number 7. Are you a yes person? I know. Women especially, they love pleasing, right? You know how it goes. Somebody calls and pleads with you because so-and-so didn't show up or didn't sign up and they need you. You're perfect for the role. No one else can do it like you. Do you know how many phone calls I get like this? I was a yes girl until about 5 years ago. When I started having trouble in my marriage, I was getting tight-chested often. I wasn't seeing my kids at night, and I was spending way too much time and energy on lunches and meetings, all in the name of not wanting to disappoint anyone and hoping to grow my business. Enough is enough. Enough was enough. I was so busy trying to please everybody, I lost myself and naturally became too busy doing everyone else's agenda to see my own results. I said yes to clients, staff, contractors, neighbors, friends, colleagues, anybody who asked. And the reason I continued to say yes was because it was too uncomfortable for me to say no. I was in a constant state of overwhelm. I was stressed out, losing perspective, but I couldn't say no. And I recognized that as long as I continued to say yes, my health, my business, my family life would continue to suffer. So I stopped. And I no longer have chest pains, I'm happy to say, and my relationships have become stronger. I'm able to commit more time towards my businesses, and I just feel better about everything in general. That's not to say that I don't do the odd favor for friends or clients or colleagues. I just don't commit to anything that I'm not really excited about anymore. So when I get asked to do something for somebody, I ask myself 3 questions. Is it good for me? Is it good for my business? And does it coincide with my core values? Now, of course, you need to know what your core values are before you can answer that, right? But if you struggle to answer those with a yes, then it's a clear no. So send your regrets and move on. Number 8, has should I become your go-to phrase? Should I? I'm dyslexic, I think. I should. So what happens when you're always saying, I should do this, I should do that, I should have done this, I should have done that? Well, I'll tell you, guilt is what happens, right? You can't say the word should without encountering some sort of guilt. Most feelings about not being good enough, not living up to expectations, and lacking confidence, they stem from this phrase of I should. Think about it. I should go visit my parents more. I should be better at doing sales. I should give more to charity. I should. Usually there's a but on the end of that sentence, right? I should go visit my parents more, but I have no time or patience. I should be better at doing sales, but I can't handle rejection right now. I should give more to charity, but I can't afford anything right now. Essentially, what you end up doing is you're justifying what you should be doing with excuses. And it becomes just another way to come down on yourself. And it becomes a habit that can be really hard to get out of. So to go from should to action, you need to make sure that it's something that you can really commit to. Otherwise, stop saying it. I will go to my parents on September 10th. I will get better at doing sales by calling 3 clients per day and doing 3 follow-ups. I will give more to charity, 1 donation at a time, starting with the neighborhood bottle drive. Knowing what to do isn't enough. right? To get unstuck and start seeing results, you have to take action. Set small, manageable goals. And those small steps each and every day are going to take your shoulds into actions without feeling overwhelmed, without procrastinating, and without sabotaging yourself. So stop saying it unless you mean it. Number 9, how visible are you willing to be? This is tied closely to marketing and promotion, which is something that can be super scary and intimidating to a lot of small business owners. I think most think that it's complicated, expensive, and even though they know it's necessary for their business, it's one of the first things that gets cut out of the budget. But visibility is more than mainstream marketing. And for the most part, it's free. It's free. It's about how to make your brand stand out and become top of mind for somebody else that's ready to buy, right? And for small business entrepreneurs and leaders, it starts with you. People make purchases when they get to know, like, and trust you. I've given a lot of talks about branding. And let me tell you, you propel your brand. You can propel your brand in the simplest of ways. It doesn't need to be scary. The way you answer the phone, the way you show up at a meeting or a networking event, how responsive you are in social media, and when you choose to give rather than receive. It's all about how you're presenting yourself for your brand. If you're the type of person that likes to hide behind your employees, behind your desk, or behind that brand, you're not going to see the results like you would if you were if you were to expand outside of your comfort zone and really start to connect with your prospects and your clients. People want a face to the business. They want to see you, especially small businesses, and they want to get to know that face behind the brand. It's just human nature. So ask yourself, when was the last time you gave up an opportunity to get yourself out there? What opportunities are coming up that you can take a leap and put yourself out there for? Now, I know we don't have a lot of face-to-face networking happening right now, but there's a lot of online stuff happening, a ton of it. Number 10, we made it. This is one of the most important reasons, and it's generally at the root of all others, and that is fear. There are so many subconscious inhibitors and limitations that cause us to fail in our goals, projections, intentions, our passions, and most times they stem from a prior experience which has led to current fear. Couple of examples. The teacher that told you you would never amount to anything. The parent who repeatedly told you that you were a lazy idiot. The friend who said that you could be so much more attractive if only you did this instead. They show up as the fear of failure, which is a huge fear for so many. The fear of looking stupid, the fear of being looking like an imposter, even the fear of success, which is definitely a real thing for a lot of people in business. Those experiences become fears or beliefs in our later years that limit us in so many ways. And if we really think about them and how they relate to us now, we can probably say that most of them are false, right? Those beliefs and fears all related to another time in our lives, usually. And when we were younger, when we were less experienced, maybe more susceptible to criticism. And each and every one of those that we drag along with us and end up getting in the way of our results and success, it doesn't help to grow our business at all. It helps to grow our stress, our relationships suffer, and we continue to be stuck and paralyzed. The thing of it is, once you're willing to give yourself permission to uncover what you're hiding from yourself, the shackles, they come off and you start to plan and get really excited again. Because there's no monkeys on your back that way. There's a 5-part exercise that I go through with my clients to fish out what's holding them back so that they can take action on them. And the first part of that is I get to ask my clients to ask themselves, what is your biggest fear? Is your fear bigger than your purpose? Is it bigger than your why? I get them to dig deep into those fears so that we can start to dissemble them, right? And move on without that in the background all the time. So, I mean, if there might be a bit of work to do to release that worry or that fear, that work is totally worth it. Because when you do that work, the fears, like I said, they disappear and a huge weight's taken off your shoulders. And that's when you can start seeing those results again. So we've uncovered the top 10 most common reasons you might not be seeing results you want in your business. Let me ask you, which one is holding you back the most? Which one or ones do you resonate with? So let's go over them. Not being invested enough. You don't have a plan. You're living in chaos comfort. You've got mindset sabotage. You've got too many distractions. You have poor time management. You're a yes person. Your go-to phrase is, I should. You have visibility issues, and or you have fears. Just put in the chat what numbers you resonate with. I'm going to have a sip of water. 3, 5, and 8. Yep. 8's a big one. Anybody else? 2 and 10. Yep. 7, 5, 8, and 3. Yeah. Most people will have several, like I said. So now that you know what's really holding you back, how important is it really that you start seeing better results going into fall, into the next year? Because if you do nothing, how are you going to feel a year from now? You know what? I believe that every business owner knows what they need to do to make their business the success that they want it to be, on a conscious level anyway. But on a subconscious level, we just continue to sabotage ourselves. This is the level that needs to know that you are in control and no one else. So if I were to call you 5 years from now and you were exactly at the same place that you are now, and I ask you how you felt about that, what would you say? Would you say awesome? Would you say you're happy with that? Or would it be something else? Because if the answer isn't awesome or great, then chances are you're going to need to work on your reasons a bit. And depending on who you are and how much time and effort you have to start to work on those reasons, you might find that you can definitely work on them on your own, or that you may need a bit of help. That help to expedite things and, you know, have a little bit of feedback on to make the next step quicker and with less resistance. So first, let's get into a couple things that I promised you. Now that we're all here, one was VIP access to my mastermind coming up in September. Okay, so if you've never been in a mastermind, it's one of my favorite group programs. All masterminds seem to be a little bit different, but most focus on the same thing, that is utilizing the group as a sounding board for issues, questions, brainstorming. Well, you know what? The Chaos to Clarity Mastermind does this as well. You're going to have the chance each and every session to be in what we call the hot seat. This isn't as scary as it sounds if you're envisioning flames all through your seat. No. What hot seats do is they give you the chance to have the floor and bring up anything you want to the group. And instead of just getting my advice and guidance, you get everybody around the circle pitching in with their own experience and their wisdom. And so this is how each and every masterminds are different. But my masterminds also focus on certain topics of interest in every single class as well. These topics help to deliver a clear-cut roadmap for getting out of chaos and back to clarity. They're going to improve your creative thinking, your focus, your mindset, your confidence, and goal completion rates within only 6 sessions. 6 sessions. It's crazy how quickly this stuff works. And the primary impact is through using Kaizen. Kaizen is a Japanese term in philosophy that means small steps for continual improvement. A lot of you have heard my talks, and if not, I go through everything. I go through what Kaizen means and how easy it is to start to get stuff done and living a better life and having a better business with that philosophy. And it's all done in a gentle and guided way that gets results like you would not believe. So quickly, this is what we're going to be focusing on: identifying what's holding you back, those fears, overcoming your worries, the fears. We're going to visit the mindset to enhance your confidence. We're going to go over success habits for greater clarity, productivity, and results. And you're going to be able to free yourself from chaos and see solid results in your goals. So if you're looking for a proven system and framework to get you out of chaos and into clarity, I invite you to join the next intake. Okay, it's happening September 23rd. Lori, I know you're already in there. Good woman. So I only work with entrepreneurs and small business leaders that are coachable and that are striving to improve, not only for themselves, but to gain better results in their business. So if this is you, the class starts on September 23rd, which is a Wednesday, and it goes bi-weekly. So every second week from 9:30 to 11:30. The cost is normally $477 Canadian, but I've got a COVID special on right now for $397. So that's almost $100 off. And it comes with one private 911 call, value-added inspirations, downloads, bonuses along the way, that are going to help to keep you motivated, energized, and able to focus on the growth of your business. But for those of you who are ready to commit to both themselves and their business, I want to throw in a little bit of added incentive. Okay, so if you join by September 1st, I'm going to throw in a second coaching 911 call, as well as both my How to Overcome Challenges checklist and my very favorite no-fail get-to-do list that I've used for 2 years to get everything done that I need to fit in my businesses into one day in a focused and deliberate way. All right, sound good? So how ready are you to take control of those results? So thank you for showing up for your business to get answers as to why you're not getting results you're looking for. I really do enjoy doing these, and I'm going to send out your other gifts after we get off here, the action brainstorming sheet and my interruption buster sheet. So also, I wanted to say, if you're not in my Empowered Business Leaders community on Facebook, please join. It's free. And we go over so many things. We've got challenges, we've got inspirations, insights every day, and it's just a lot of fun. Does anybody have any questions? I am going to stop sharing. No, I'm going to stop recording right now. Will it let me? I don't know.